I'm Jordan Carlos, and welcome to Can We Talk About This?
All my life I had to fight.
In 1985, Steven Spielberg broke box office records, not with a killer shark or a magic alien, but with an adaptation of a Pulitzer Prize-winning novel starring an all-black cast.
Show me that pretty smile.
With me to revisit The Color Purple is writer extraordinaire, Roxane Gay. When was the first time you watched The Color Purple?
I think I originally saw it in theaters. It was one of the first times I had ever seen a movie about Black women. It blew my mind.
I think you're beautiful.
And of course, to see Oprah in it, she was really famous at the time as a talk show host. And I was like, wow, okay, she's got the range. The Color Purple demonstrated that Black women can lead a narrative, and they can do so beautifully and powerfully. I just loved it.
This life be over soon. Heaven lasts always.
Do you feel it still holds up after all these years?
It absolutely holds up. It's one of those rare movies that I feel like is timeless. When I watch it, I don't feel like I'm watching a movie from the 1980s. I feel like I am watching a movie that is present and that is contemporary and that is as timely as it ever was. I think my opinions have become more nuanced and more complicated, but I still think it's an incredible piece of art.
That's the thing about the films that we love. It's the sweet and sour of it all.
You know, the sweet is a movie that centers Black women. The sour is that a white man directed it.
Yes.
And the sour is that it didn't win any Oscars. Fortunately, it has stood the test of time.
Don't let him run over you. You gotta let him know who got the upper hand.
Would The Color Purple have gotten 11 nominations, raked in so much box office, had it not been that Steven Spielberg was the director?
Back then, no, it wouldn't. It would have never gotten made. And that is very telling as to how things work in Hollywood, even now.
Yeah.
And it's unfortunate. I don't know that it would have gotten made today without Steven Spielberg's imprimatur on it. And that's frustrating and painful and ridiculous. But things are changing, and for the better, and we are seeing more Black directors getting to tell the kinds of stories that they want to tell without needing the sort of stamp of approval of a white producer or a white director. And I think that's critically important. That even though The Color Purple was directed by Steven Spielberg, the next movie that is that powerful and that important will be directed by a Black person. And I'm thrilled for that.
Just don't make me wait too long, Hoppo.
Can we talk about firsts? It's the first big budget adaptation of a novel by a Black author. First Black producer nominated for Best Picture, Quincy Jones. Whoopi and Oprah's first film.
It's phenomenal. And I think that people forget how many firsts this movie accomplished because we're still accomplishing firsts.
Things gonna be changing around here, too.
This is an obvious question, but why do you think it took so long for Hollywood to make a film like this?
I mean, for the same reason that they really haven't made many of these films since. Hollywood does not care about women's stories. When you look at the majority of films that are made, they're about men and men's quests. And of course, they're primarily about white men, but sometimes men of color also get a shot. And again, yes, it's changing, but it has to be this incredible achievement every single time. And we have to hit it out of the park every single time.
What I liked about this film when I was a kid was that white people were at the margins most of the film.
Yes, and that was one of the things that I think made The Color Purple so powerful. White people are there, and they're oppressive, but Black life went on anyway. It was really important for Black people to see that our lives don't have to be centered around whiteness.
How do you think The Color Purple changed the game at the box office?
It showed that Black people can lead a film that will earn a lot of money. And it has been proven time and again, and every single time it happens, white Hollywood throws their hands up and says, oh my God, I had no idea. At some point, they're going to get the message.
Let's talk about representation on screen. I had never seen a story about queer relationship like this, especially among Black women. How important do you think it was?
I think it was incredibly important. I think this was the first time I saw two women kiss. Ever. And I loved it. I was shocked. And there was some secret part of me that thought, I want to do that. I wouldn't call it queer representation by any stretch of the imagination, but there was so little representation back then, especially for Black lesbians, that that is what had to stand in the place of queer representation. I do think that the lesbian storyline would absolutely be more prominent if the movie were made today, and we will certainly see it in the musical.
At its foundation, The Color Purple is, of course, about women getting power. How important is it for women to see stories like this?
I think it's important for everyone to see stories like that and to understand that sometimes women share really intimate and powerful bonds that provide not only comfort but salvation. And for me, it just reinforced what I already knew about the relationships between Black women in terms of what I saw in my own family. And I loved that this movie highlighted those relationships in ways that were authentic.
We have a tradition in Black America where we laugh to keep from crying.
Yes.
There's an inside joke in the film when Celie does this.
Everything you've done to me, already done to you.
We all know that, and we all kind of laugh at it.
Mm-hmm. Sugavery P has become a cultural referent for the Black community. Whenever we're talking about subtle acts of revenge, I'll certainly say I'm going to put a little Sugavery P in it. And,
right.
Black people know what I'm talking about.
But I wonder, the movie is so traumatic. Do we undercut that by using humor to enjoy it all the more?
We don't undercut the trauma. The trauma is so overwhelming that you need something to cope with it and to remember that joy is as important as suffering. That we have taken these cultural touchstones from a film that is incredibly painful, I think speaks to the power of resilience. I think it's entirely a positive thing and a useful thing.
Roxane Gay, thank you for taking the time.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that, Jordan. This was great.
This has been Can We Talk About This? I'm Jordan Carlos. Enjoy the movie.